I think that the biggest reason why most people feel stressed and overwhelmed in their life is because they feel like they don't have enough control over their time. And I was exactly the same. I'd feel so overwhelmed because I felt like I was wasting my time on things that didn't really have a purpose or a wider meaning, and I had no time to spend on the things that I actually enjoyed. In the past 6 months, I've started to use these 7 different habits in my life that have given me back at least 20 hours, probably more, of free time in my week. And I can guarantee that at least one of these will be something you've never heard before and you can actually apply to your own life. So, as always, the timestamps are on screen and are down below in the description, but let's get right into the video. So, the first habit that I've started to use is the 5-minute rule. And I'm sure that I can't be the only one who feels like this. But one of my biggest worries before I started using this rule was that I was wasting so much time procrastinating on meaningless tasks that didn't actually achieve anything. So instead of doing things that I actually have to do, like going to the gym, filming a video, or beginning that essay plan, I'd waste my time by rearranging my bookshelf, moving around a load of stuff in my room, or worst of all, mindlessly scrolling through social media. And I think the biggest reason why most of us waste so much time on these kind of meaningless things is because it's a lot easier to get started on them than it is on a bigger, kind of more deep focused task. So instead, what I've started to do is tell myself that I'm just going to commit to one of these harder tasks just for 5 minutes. So what I'll do is I'll set myself a timer just for 5 minutes, and I'll tell myself this is all I need, and after I've done the 5 minutes, I can do whatever I like. But what normally happens is that by the time the 5 minutes are up and they're over, I'll be so involved and ingrained and passionate about what I'm doing that I don't want to stop. Because normally these tasks that I have to do, I actually really enjoy them and want to do them. It's just that big kind of mental burden and block of getting started that causes us to waste loads of time. Okay, and the second habit that has saved me loads of time ever since I started to use it is something that I'm calling the capture and combat principle. So I might be in the minority here, but oftentimes I find it so hard to just get my brain to switch off and stop thinking about loads of different things. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, because it's actually really nice and oftentimes useful to have all of these thoughts and ideas. So whether that's a new YouTube video idea or a new idea for something I could write about for my degree, or just something I want to do with my friends, it's nice to have those thoughts and to be kind of active in my own life. However, before I started using the capture and combat kind of principle, I'd find it really overwhelming, because I'd find that all of this information and all of these new thoughts would just start piling up in my brain. So the way we solve this problem and the way we get back loads of time is a 2-part system. First off, you need a way of recording all of these thoughts when they come into your head. So for me, I use 2 methods. I use Notion whenever I have an idea or a thought for a YouTube video or for my degree. I've got 2 pages in Notion, one dedicated just for uni and one for YouTube. And then if I have an idea of anything to do with my friends, my family, it'll go into a separate page on Apple Notes, which is more of kind of personal stuff. And that is the capture part of this system. However, I was arguably wasting more time worrying about which of these things were actually worth pursuing. And that's where the second part of this system, combat, comes into play. So the easiest way for me to show you how this actually works in action is to take a look at my YouTube database on Notion. So you'll see whenever I have an idea for a video, it'll go straight into the farthest left column, which I've got labeled right now as no stage. And that essentially means it's just an idea. It might be a book I might want to talk about, something I see walking through the city, or just something I think of randomly. And then if I think it's meaningful and it might actually make a good, valuable video, I'll move it over to the drafting column. And then essentially over time, as I understand what works more on YouTube and what you guys are actually interested in, that idea will move further over to the right, where eventually it will be uploaded. So basically the combat part of this system is just trying to find a way to get a hierarchy of what is actually important, and essentially getting some sort of system in place. A table works really well of organizing how important each thought is. Okay, and now the third habit is all to do with dopamine. Well, actually, this is something I'm calling healthy dopamine, because I've mentioned this already, but I'm sure it's something we can all relate to, and it's just that we're wasting so much of our lives on our phones. So I might tell myself that I'm just gonna go on Instagram for 2 minutes whilst I'm on the toilet, or this is a bit of a bad habit, but before I go to sleep, and then sort of 25-30 minutes pass and you're still scrolling. So the way to break this cycle is to try and find an alternate kind of source of dopamine. And for me, that has been taking around a book with me wherever I go, or occasionally I'll take around my journal if I want to fill in my dopamine days. And if you're unsure about what that is, you need to check out this video. And the fourth habit that I want to talk about that has saved me probably the most time overall is all to do with batching tasks. So we all have tasks that we prefer doing to others. I mean, for me, I absolutely hate washing the dishes, I hate ironing clothes, and generally I just dislike cleaning my flat. But these are all three things that have to be done. However, batching all of these tasks into one time period is the easiest way to save time. So obviously this just means that I'm doing all my ironing, my cleaning, my laundry, whatever in one go. So instead of doing it for say 5-10 minutes each day, normally I'll just do it a couple of times or one time a week in a bigger time period, say 45 minutes. And the fifth habit that saves me loads of time each week is making crash lists every day. And actually I have a crash list right here, my one for today. I've made a video all about these before, but as a really quick overview, I think that most people get this next kind of thing wrong about time management, and that it's not the amount of time you spend on something, it's the quality of time that you actually choose to spend. So what I do with my crash list is I'll write down the 3 most crucial tasks that I've got to accomplish each day. Then it doesn't really matter how I do them or what time I do them by, just that I actually accomplish them. And this is probably the most beginner-friendly habit of all 7 on the list, because you don't have to worry about time blocking or the Pomodoro technique or anything like that, which are much more advanced productivity tips that you can start to use when you get a little bit more comfortable with the basics. But in the meantime, I want to talk about the 6th habit that saves me the most amount of time right at the beginning of my day, and it's the concept of eating the frog. Now, I can't be the only one who feels like this, but oftentimes, well, sometimes I'll struggle to get to sleep because my brain's constantly thinking about the hardest thing or the thing that's maybe making me feel the most anxious the following day. And the concept of eating the frog basically means that you're doing the hardest thing, the thing that's causing you the most stress, feelings of overwhelm or anxiety, right at the start of your day, the first thing that you do. So for me, this is usually if I have a meeting or a call with somebody, or maybe I have a really hard essay that I've got to plan, or indeed maybe it's leg day at the gym. But I found this just saves me so much time because I'm not stressing about this hard task because I'm getting it out of the way first thing in the morning. And the 7th and final, kind of uncommon, unusual habit that I use to save me at least 20 hours a week is all to do with time restriction. So one of the biggest reasons why I was wasting so much time in my mornings was that I'd wake up at 7 a.m. and then my first university class normally wouldn't start until around 10 a.m. And I know that I'd want to go to the gym in the morning because this would be eating the frog. However, I'd have 3 hours to fit this in. So how long do you think that'd take me? Obviously, an hour-long workout became an hour and a half long, and then I'd take my time at the gym, I'd take my time after, I wouldn't rush about having a shower, blah, blah, blah. And then what should have taken about 60 minutes stretched to, well, close to 3 hours. So instead, what I do now is I force myself to be super ambitious with the amount of time I give myself to complete these kind of actions. So instead of telling myself that I have essentially 3 hours to be at the gym, instead I'm restricting that amount of time to just 50 minutes. Because whilst we can spend hours and hours and days and weeks trying to get perfection, oftentimes it's way better just to get 80-90% of the way if that means we're saving 2, 3, 4 times the amount of time. So now you have 7 pretty great and I think quite uncommon and kind of unusual habits that are going to save you loads of time. But to really make these habits work and to take your time management to the next level, you need to be using a crash calendar. So to find out how to do this, you need to check out this video right here. So I'll see you all there.